It's March. Welcome into another edition of the pH Factor. We're glad to be back and talking energy today. You know how much weatherization work we do at Project Home. Really excited to be able to be the weatherization agency for Dane and Greene County, serving those two counties for more than 45 years with the weatherization program and doing our little piece about helping to reduce energy consumption and lowering bills for people who really need it. But there's a lot of great work happening in Dane County, in the state, across the country. And so this month's guest is going to be Kathy Kuntz, the director over at the Dane County Office of Energy and Climate Change. Kathy, good to see you again. How are you?
I am terrific, Jason. It's great to join you.
So we have some different things to talk about. We want to talk about the initiatives. We want to talk about what the office is doing. But first off, let's talk about the Climate Champions because last year, 2021, Project Home, we were named one of the Climate Champions. So tell people about the Climate Champions and what that's all about.
Congratulations on being named a Climate Champion last year. So our office created the Climate Champion program as part of the initiatives we're doing to implement our climate action plan. So we issued a climate action plan with lots of community input in 2020. And since then, we've sort of been working toward how do we implement that so we do actually achieve a cutting in half of our emissions by 2030. The Climate Champion program is really our nod that already in Dane County, lots of folks are doing things to be part of the climate solution. And so we established this program to recognize entities in a lot of different categories. And our focus here is recognizing businesses and local units of government. And so the first year we really focused on who's cutting their energy use, who's cutting their water use, who's doing creative fleet things. The second year, though, we added a category that we're calling Catalyst, which is about organizations that help other entities achieve climate goals or reduce their energy consumption, access renewable energy. And that's the category where we recognize Project Home because, of course, the work you've been doing, as you said, for more than 4 decades is helping low-income households in our community reduce their energy bills and be more comfortable and essentially be part of the climate solution.
I absolutely love that. And I love the initiative. Before, I think I jumped ahead maybe, but we probably should quickly identify the overview of the Dane County office. I was just so excited about the Climate Champion part that I jumped right in there. Anyway, Kathy, tell people more about what's the Dane County office is, how it was established, and what its purpose is.
County Exec Joe Parisi created the Office of Energy and Climate Change in 2016. And really his aim was to create an office that would help all of Dane County, businesses, residents, nonprofits, everybody pursue climate action. And you know, when he created our office, there wasn't a lot of strong leadership at the state or federal level around these issues. So it was sort of Exec Parisi's perspective was, we're Dane County, we can do this, let's get it done. And so our office convened stakeholders and started working on a climate action plan, and has been, in 2020, we issued the climate action plan, and really we're focused on how do we help everybody in Dane County be part of the solution around these things. And so, you know, you're showing our website, there's a lot of resources on our website to help folks both learn more about all the amazing things happening in our community, but also to figure out what they can do in their own home or business or school to be part of the solution.
I think it's a great initiative by the county. Also, we've talked about this in some other formats here recently, but to have that hub, to have that resource for people to direct them to, whether they're thinking about becoming more active through their workplace or at home or in their government entity that they might work in or are connected to. There's so many different questions, right? There's so many different things people don't necessarily know. So to have a dedicated resource for a bunch of great information and a connection point, I think is really important. So I appreciate that about the website and the office as well.
Yeah, definitely. I think part of the fundamental challenge around climate change is it's this really big issue that can seem really overwhelming. And it helps to know that there are local entities who are really on the front lines of solving this, that we have here in Dane County, the Oregon Area School District has Forest Edge Elementary. That's the largest net zero energy school in the country. And it's here in Wisconsin where we have really cold winters and hot summers. It's not in some place where the weather is like the Pacific Northwest, where the weather is a lot milder. So part of our aim is really to make folks aware of what's going on, to give them that sense that we can do this. We're Dane County. We can do anything. We're amazing. The other piece, though, is to make those connections. So a lot of the work we do is responding to groups, whether that's faith communities or youth or specific businesses who say, hey, I'm interested in this. Who can I talk to? We're trying very hard to always be that connector and figure out, okay, where can people go for that and who could they partner with?
I think it's such a great resource. And like you said, too, about finding all those different connection points, because we all use energy, right? That's the thing. We're all part of this world. We all use energy. But there are a number of different ways as we move towards the future that we could use it more efficiently. And like you said, it can be overwhelming knowing where to start. So talk to us a little bit too, Kathy, about what some of the goals are moving forward. So we're trying to get through this pandemic. Obviously, that has been a challenge for a number of things, but I know you're trying to reach out, get into more communities now as you move forward in 2022.
Yeah, one of the areas where we've been really active is in partnering with local governments. So shortly after our office was created, the County Exec Parisi and Madison Mayor Satya Rhodes Conway came together to convene what they called the Sustainable Leaders Collaborative. So this was bringing the local governments, cities, towns, and villages, the 60 plus cities, towns, and villages across Dane County together to share strategies around these things. Because if you drive around Dane County, you know that a lot of our communities are installing solar. In the last year and a half, we've added the school districts to that coalition. So we've got all of these local governments who are thinking about how to use tax dollars most effectively to reduce operating costs. When you have a net zero school, you don't have a utility bill in the same way. That gives more money for teachers and books and other stuff that we tend to think is really important in education. We've also been active at a statewide level. There's a newish group called the Wisconsin Local Government Climate Coalition that we're part of, where we have cities and counties across Wisconsin who have set ambitious climate goals, and we can learn from each other and we can help each other move further faster. And so, a lot of what we're always thinking about is how do we scale these things, and how do we make sure that if the village of McFarland is doing amazing stuff, other people in the county know about it and are able to go, oh, we could do that too in our process.
Those stories, those success stories, like you said, pointing those out are really important because, number one, it is a way to help show others that it can be done and get more people on the train, so to speak. So I think those things are critical as well as we move forward. I want to go back to the Oregon School District, talking about that process. Tell us a little bit about how Oregon, the school district, did this, how they became such a leader, and how did that all start?
Yeah, the story in Oregon is really, and this is often the story, it's about probably a handful of individuals who said, hey, why couldn't we do this? Hey, this seems, and, pushed for, what if we tried to be net zero? And so that's a school that is all electric. So that's a piece of this solution. And it's got a system of solar panels that provide all of the electricity. Now it's heated and cooled by a geothermal heating system. So that's an all electric system. It's using, the natural temperatures underground to heat and cool the facility. And they've integrated the on-site solar and the geothermal into the curriculum. So little kids go into that school, see displays about how these things work and what a geothermal heat pump is. And we'll do a webinar for local governments in a couple of weeks through the Sustainable Leaders Collaborative. And the business manager at Oregon is going to talk a little bit about, they used green bonds. So there are green financing tools that they got a better deal on financing for the school because it was a net zero energy school, and there are investors out there who would rather buy green bonds, and so Andy is going to share some of that so that other districts around the county can go, oh, that's a thing we didn't even know existed. We could, if we made our school upgrade greener, we might be able to get better financing on the upgrade, which, again, makes the math work better. So it's, I think we're at a point, the cost of solar energy systems has dropped something like 75% or more since, in the last decade. The solar is increasingly an affordable strategy for an awful lot of entities, particularly with the tax credits and incentives that are out there. And so some of it is just making people aware that, wait, if you looked at this option, it's kind of like anything else. If you looked at the first generation of smartphones, they didn't do a whole lot and they seemed kind of expensive. Over time, they've gotten maybe not a lot less expensive, but they do a lot more. And it's that sort of understanding the technology is always moving.
And you're right, the knowledge and sharing that information about those resources that might be out there to make some of these projects more doable, more exciting, whatever gets you motivated, right? To take the step, to take the action. I think those are incredible. So kudos to Oregon School District for everything they've done and also sharing their example. I think that's fantastic. Something we talked about before was trying to make sure that these programs and also this information is getting out to everyone. And so not everyone has the same access to information, technology wise. Not everyone has the same access to information in terms of, even just having the time because they're working 3 jobs. So how do we reach all of the community members in the area to get this info out?
It's such an important question, Jason. And I think, a lot of what we've learned during the pandemic is just how uneven resources are in our communities, how some folks do lack access to information and resources. And so, one of the fundamental principles of our climate action plan is to address the historic inequities in the energy system as we go forward. So we're thinking really hard about that all the time. And we think an important piece of this is partnership. It's working with community-based organizations that have those relationships in disadvantaged communities. And this is a thing it's been challenging during the pandemic. I'm excited to be, looking forward at a time where I can go to more of those community events and kind of sit in the corner and just listen and just really understand how a variety of barriers kind of come together to make it harder for some of our households to think about participation here. And I think a thing to emphasize is we want them to participate because there are benefits they can get from participating. The reality is the households and this is true globally, it's true across the US, it's true in Wisconsin, the households that have contributed the least to our climate crisis often are facing the biggest challenges due to the climate crisis. They're living in the areas that tend to flood. They're at more risk for the increased asthma from the pollution, because they're in high traffic neighborhoods or something. And so we really have an obligation to think about how we co-create solutions with those communities so that everybody benefits from the opportunities we create when we're addressing climate change.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I mean, the other part is a lot of times people with lower incomes are in older housing and housing
Right.
that hasn't been necessarily maintained as well, but also probably has never been looked at as how can we upgrade the energy efficiency of this building or this house or what have you, because that's never been a thought. It's never been something they felt like they could do, or other people in the past who've lived there could do. So those are communities that are really important to reach,
Right.
because like you said, it benefits them directly, conserving energy, lowering energy bills, but then also finding more ways for them to get involved in some of these new energy resources if that's possible, because in the long run, that's an upgrade for that house, for the neighborhood, for the community, and of course benefits that individual.
Yeah, definitely. And Project Home has such deep expertise in this area. You know better than any of us how much opportunity there is in some of those disadvantaged neighborhoods to really improve the efficiency of the house, but also improve the comfort. Because lots of times, folks who are on tight budgets, who live in an inefficient space, are doing challenging things to try to be nominally comfortable. And so if we can insulate and air seal those units and put an efficient heating and cooling system in there so that they can afford to, be comfortable and not be wearing gloves and winter coats around the house because it's chilly in the winter or something, that's really important. That's about quality of life. Everyone should have a space that is adequately heated and cooled, particularly as our climate gets more challenging for folks.
It seems like a basic human right to
Yes.
me, and I think that's our view as well, and that's why Project Home does the work we do. And there's so many great organizations trying to make housing more affordable and equitable for everyone. Okay, Kathy. So that's the conservation side, weatherization. Let's tune them up. Let's tighten them up. Let's use less energy. There are also some advancements here in newer technologies, newer energy sources that are going to become more mainstream. And so, what is the county's role in helping us be leaders in that respect?
Yeah, that's a terrific question because the first really important thing is efficiency and conservation. The next thing is, of course, that we're moving toward getting our energy from renewable sources, and increasingly, everything we do is going to rely on a renewable source of mostly electricity. So over time, we're going to see our cars and buses become electric cars and buses. And that's good news because it'll reduce air pollution in our neighborhoods. We're going to see our homes transition from gas furnaces to electric heat pumps. And we're on the very early stages of that right now. Some of the work that we're interested in, and I know we've had conversations with Project Home about, is where are there opportunities to start piloting some of those technologies in particular places. So as an example, here in Dane County, we have a chunk of housing that has electric resistance heat. And so transitioning that to a heat pump, which is a very efficient way to heat with electricity compared to electric resistance heat, could save people a bunch of money. And of course it's complicated. A bunch of that is rental housing, so we have to figure out how to make it work with landlords and all of that. But that's, I think, a piece of what over the next couple of years we have to figure out the path to that. And it's important that we figure out how to do that with an eye to equity, because we don't want to create a situation where the wealthier neighborhoods in our community all transition to heat pumps and the disadvantaged communities are left on natural gas, which is increasingly expensive, and someone has to maintain that network. And I mean, that's about replicating past inequities going forward. That's exactly what we don't want to do here. We want to address that inequity. So we need to figure out how to kind of lead with some of these technologies for income disadvantaged folks. And that means electric vehicles and heat pumps in all neighborhoods.
Absolutely love that. That's amazing to hear And definitely the way to move forward as a community together. I think I've mentioned this to you before, but we, at Project Home, we've had experiences so many times with some of our customers where, for an example was our water conservation initiative that's funded by Madison Water Utility. Well, a number of those customers couldn't maybe put in a high efficiency toilet, couldn't put the money towards that, what have you. And then we were able to offer them that because of the funding from Madison Water Utility and because of our service. And they were just really excited that, like, yes, they got a new toilet, but they had an opportunity to participate in water conservation, to be a part of it, and
Right.
it does something for them and it includes them. And that's amazing because so making sure that we're reaching everybody. I love that focus by the county as well. Fantastic. A little time to brag on something with the county, though, Kathy. I want you to talk about this since we were talking about renewables here. There's some recognition recently. Green Power
Yeah.
Leadership Award winner, Green Power Partner. Tell us a little bit about these things real quick with the county and how that's tied in.
Yeah. So for us at the county, one of the emphasis for the county exec is really that we lead by example. So he wants our operations to be green if we're talking to everybody else about being green. So a few years ago, 5 or 6 at least, the county really initiated a quest to get all of the electricity we use for county facilities from renewable sources. So in 2020, we completed a project out by the airport in partnership with MG&E, a solar field that MG&E built for us. We get about 40% of the electricity we use in county operations from that installation, and we're pursuing another project with Alliant Energy now, and we will by the end of 2023 get all of our electricity for county operations from renewable energy sources. And so the Environmental Protection Agency gave us a Green Power Recognition Award, really recognizing what we're doing internally, but also the work we're doing to encourage the community. So a couple of the other things that are on our website, we have a series of maps. So there's a map of all the climate champions where you can read a little bit about them. There's also a clean energy map, though, where we showcase installations at local governments, but also businesses and nonprofits. And our aim there is to make it easy for you. If you are interested in putting solar on your facility, you can go on that map and you can see a bunch of other entities that have solar and who installed their solar. It's a way to kind of help move the market. And so the recognition was also about our efforts there to move the market.
Such a great resource. Again, I've been scrolling the website here throughout, but it's DaneClimateAction.org, DaneClimateAction.org. All these great resources here, Kathy. Is there anything I left out or that we should make sure we tell people?
I think, the other important thing is that we talk about climate action. So there's a lot of research that, here in Dane County, 7 in 10 people think climate change is a significant problem, but we don't talk about it very much because we don't have good things to talk about. So I would encourage your listeners to talk about that Project Home is a climate champion, that they're part of the local climate solution. And that's a way to, when you talk about these things, you're telling the people in your network that they matter to you, and you're giving them permission to talk about these things too. And so all of that can help us move forward with action. And let's start with the great work Project Home is doing to ensure that everybody has an opportunity to be part of the solution.
Kathy, thanks for all the work you do at the Dane County Office of Energy and Climate Change, the county setting the example, the initiative, and then all the great partnerships that you're creating. So the more partnerships we make and the more we get the word circulated, the faster, like you said, we'll get there faster and we'll go further.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Jason. Thanks for your work too.
Have a great day, Kathy. Thanks so much for your time. I really appreciate it.